Hey guys, welcome back. Making a video game as a mostly solo indie game developer requires me to wear a lot of different hats. And some of these hats I wear quite happily. Some of the disciplines and skills involved with making a game come quite naturally to me because of how I've worked in the past, what positions I've held in game productions over the years. So things like programming, for example, is something that I sort of take for granted and I know I have to do. And of course, a lot of the stuff that we do on this YouTube channel is about programming, especially seeing that I use my own game engine and tools to build this game. Other disciplines and other hats I wear quite happily still because I might be kind of interested in the matter, in the thing that we're trying to achieve, such as creating art. And of course, everything that you see here is modeled by me. This is still a white box or gray box or whatever box you want to call it, blockout version of the level, which is fitting because we're in October, so this is a perfect Blocktober example right here. And all of this is modeled by me. It's not perhaps the most beautiful things you've ever seen, but I kind of like the look of it, and I feel like I'm getting better at this all the time and more efficient. And then we have the stuff which doesn't come all that naturally to me. Perhaps because I haven't really done a lot of that kind of work, either professionally or otherwise. But that work might be just as important as all of the other things. The things that I tend to start doing almost automatically when I begin a new project. And in this particular case, I'm talking about production. So game production. And game production can mean very many things. And it typically means slightly different things in a small production compared to a large one. But there are some things that producers or people who simply put on the producer hat for a day or an hour or a minute tend to do, both in small and large projects, and that is scheduling. And so I figured we would do a little bit of scheduling together on video today. Even though I'm not super good at it, everyone knows that estimating timelines, estimating how long something is going to take is notoriously difficult in software development, and I would argue even more so in game development. But it's still a very important skill to have to actually ship a game or ship something. And I've talked for a little while now that I'd like to put out a demo of the game, and not really a demo in the sense that like something you could put out on Steam for free, which kind of showcases the product in order to make people make the buying decision or not. This demo that I'm talking about is something much earlier, and it's probably going to use roughly these graphics that you see on the screen. It's almost like a proof of concept, or first playable is the term that's been thrown around in the industry quite a lot. Something that gives you guys the ability to play the game and sort of get a very early feel for it, and it gives me the basically provides me feedback on how well the game plays, but also how well the engine performs in a technical sense. And I think I have quite a lot of work still left to do before I can ship something to you that is at least reasonably nice and playable. So let's try to make a list of all of the things that I need to do, at least on a high level, to be able to ship this demo. Let's try to identify, playing the game, try to identify all of the things that we can't ship without. Make a list of those. And then that list can be used as a base for sort of a more detailed list later on. All right, so let's look at the tool that I typically use for these kinds of things. So checklist. I guess they took like the L from checklist and turned it on its side, so it becomes a V. This is not a sponsored video or anything. I just kind of like this tool, so feel free to check it out if you want to. It's a web-based tool, and it's sort of like an outliner. So you can just like nest things under other things like this. And you can mark things as done or undone. So this is almost like a project management tool light, if you will. And you can embed all kinds of things like links and videos and whatnot. I typically use this mostly just for text. And you can color text if you want to have it colored, or all kinds of things. I use probably like 5% of all the features here. But I like this a lot, and it's keyboard driven, so that's really nice. So what you're looking at is my rough outline for the Nemo project. The Nemo tool, which I showed off a few videos ago, and this was kind of how I started that thing. So laying out things like this. And of course you can use this like with multiple users as well. Not exactly sure how well that works, but presumably pretty well. Let's create a new list. Yes, new list. And we'll call this something like means demo release checklist. Right. So let's just start very, very high level. I'm gonna minimize that. Actually, maybe we can shut it down. We don't need it running. And we'll launch the game. And this immediately launches into the level. So let's get rid of that. Let's try to sort of look at this, how a player might look. So we're running the release build clearly because it loaded so quickly. The demo or the debug build doesn't load that quickly. So from the launch release, we just need to take away the play level, and we can actually run with the server thread. That's quite fine because that is the default anyway. Leave those as they are for now. And we run the game. And so this is what the player will see. My horrible looking main menu, which wasn't supposed to last this long, but it kind of still is here for some reason. And also we can see here that the game is still called Means. That's not very nice. And it needs a proper name. I kind of know what the name is already. I just need to wrap some of the branding work, and then I can reveal the name for the game. But we can actually even start with that. So game name. And what do we need for the game name? Well, we need the logo in the menu. We need the window title bar, exe name, things like this. We don't need to get too specific with this. We can go very, very specific. But that is clearly like the first thing. It needs the proper name and not means. Even though means will still appear like all over the place in the code and things like that. But the customer-facing name should be the proper name. The next thing that we'll clearly want is a better main menu. So it's like functionally quite all right already. You can navigate it with the keyboard like this, or you can navigate it with the mouse. But main menu overhaul. That is sort of this contains a lot of sub items. We can mention the logo there again. We will have some background, either image, or maybe we can even load into a level here. I'm not exactly sure on the technical details. Buttons, etc. Disable MP probably. There's not going to be any multiplayer, perhaps in the game at all, but at least not in the demo. All right. So we've gotten into the game, and we have this new beautiful menu. Then the player will click Start New Game, and you can actually see that I put in the loading screen from Slide, The aspect ratio is a bit weird, which is why it sort of doesn't reach all the way to the top. But yeah, I started taking some of these elements that the loading is so quick that I kind of have to go back and forth so that you can actually see it. But I started taking some of these UI elements from Slide over to this game, perhaps as placeholders, or perhaps that is actually what I'm going to be using. Remains to be seen. But yes, the loading screen is now much nicer than it used to be, and the rest of the UI will follow in a bit. Anyway, we've loaded into the game, and I've spoken previously about this is the level that we're going to that the demo is going to take place in. But I've spoken previously about the fact that in the story of the game, the player and his entourage are going to arrive from over here, from like this big sort of desert place. And so I think that there's going to be a very slight, small cinematic to sort of set the establish the scene. Otherwise, it will be very confusing for the player who just comes into this world, because this is not supposed to be like the beginning of the single player campaign. This is sort of like a somewhere in the middle, probably. So intro cinematic. It can just be like a few second thing of the vehicles arriving and someone saying something, right? I'm gonna leave it as just a very high level bullet point here in our list, because I don't know the exact details yet. After the intro cinematic starts, it is very important that the mission, and we've spoken about the missions and how we can script them recently, so check out the visual scripting of mission logic, or whatever I call the video if you're interested. It's very important that the mission starts immediately, so that the player has a clear goal of what they need to do. I'm not going to go into the specifics here of what they need to do. I kind of want to leave some of the mystery there. But the mission is very important. So first of all, we need like the overall flow. Fail conditions. Win condition. And the win condition can be sort of abrupt in this demo. It can mostly just be like, yay, you finished the game, now go watch some YouTube videos on how the full version is coming together. There's going to be some kind of win screen, and we can perhaps even put it here as a main point. So this is like a demo only screen that shows up when the player has finished the demo. Something like that. But back to the mission. Overall flow, fail conditions, win condition, dialogues. Yeah, I need to drill down into some of these areas a bit more when I lay this out as sort of a detailed list. But what are some other things that we need? Well, we need better vehicles, like vehicle models, right? This vehicle is a very, very rough version, something that I made in like 2 minutes. So we need the vehicles to be more fleshed out, vehicles. We need at least a scout vehicle. Oh, I can't type today. Better block out mesh. So it doesn't need to be final, but it should be better than this at least. Engine sound. I put a question mark there because actually it has an engine sound already. We actually made that during a previous video, but it was sort of a proof of concept, and this should probably have its own engine sound. Right. So other FX, so particle systems probably. What else? What else? Probably something that I'm gonna come up with in a minute, and then we'll add it there. And then the mother vehicle. It kind of needs the same things, so I'm just gonna copy them here. Let's see if we can we control? Yeah, now this asks, yes, please put it as separate items. Engine sound, actually probably like sounds, and this is clearly like we need the engine sound. We need the crane needs a sound. And what else? I don't remember. We need to finalize the crane sort of control logic. Let's spawn a mother here. Let's just like plonk down like a boom. Here we go. So the crane already works quite nicely. We can control it here, and we can extend the cable. We can lift things. I've spoken about this crane ad nauseum in this video series, so let's not go into that right now. You can look at the older videos if you're interested in how this works. However, the crane can sort of always be activated now. Like I can drive around with this mother vehicle like yay, and still control the crane. And we added this nice little menu here some time ago, and this is kind of nice. It works and it stores your selection there, but doesn't actually enable or disable the different kinds of input that you can give to the mother vehicle. Like you're supposed to be either the driver or then control the cargo crane, and maybe the camera should be affected and like concentrate on what you're doing rather than just staying as it is. So cameras. So no driving camera for the mother vehicle. So here we go to this guy here. So the scout vehicle has two camera modes essentially. It has this driving camera, which looks like this, and this is sort of like the. It's supposed to be a very nice camera to use when you're just sort of driving around and looking at things, and it adjusts the FOV to make it feel like you're going faster and do all the things that like racing games typically do. Then we have the orbit camera, which looks like this, which allows you to like freely look around and is used to sort of survey your environment. It can be very handy when you're trying to solve a puzzle or something like that. And currently the mother, if we switch to this guy here, or gal I should say, we also have a driving camera, and as you can see it sort of like doesn't really work for this vehicle type. Like you can't really see anything, and so I think the only camera type, like main camera type if you will, driving camera type for the mother vehicle should be the orbit camera. Like you can see like well, it's not tuned for this vehicle at all, but I don't really think you need a driving camera for this vehicle, because you need to quite often just make sure that you're not driving into something. Like if we're driving inside the base, for example, it gets kind of tricky quickly. Let's open the main gate, and we try to drive this mother vehicle here inside of the base. Maybe we can retract our cable a little bit so that we don't get stuck. Like you kind of need to like look around all the time. This vehicle is so huge that it's kind of tricky to drive this if you're not able to actually see what you're doing from any angle at any time. So yeah, no driving camera, but we will probably want to adjust the camera so that when you're controlling the crane, activated through the role selection. Yeah, when you actually go here and go like, okay, I want to use the cargo crane now, then the camera should focus on this one a little bit and maybe behave slightly differently. You should still be able to rotate around and see things and like that. And speaking of final, or at least more final, crane controls. I have pretty nice crane controls already, but they only work on the keyboard currently. That's just how they're set up. I just haven't mapped them to the gamepad at all. And so yeah, that needs to be done. And the crane can also do some pretty crazy, pretty cray movements. Like it can do something like this, for example. We're probably gonna get an assert just in a second. Like, yay, you got an assert. Negative length in quaternion. Yeah, that's not good. And physics also just completely breaks, and the game crashes. So we clearly need some. Let's do cargo crane. Movement limits. Because yeah, you can currently just do some pretty crazy things with that crane. You're not supposed to be able to do that. Cool. We also have this this truck here, which I just sort of made as a fun little thing one night. I haven't really used this for anything, but you can put things in the back, and they will stay in the back. Can I? Do I have like a? I don't have any dynamic objects that I can spawn currently. But you've seen me drive around with dynamic objects in the back of this vehicle in previous videos now, so you know that it works. Not sure if we will actually have this in the demo, but maybe. So let's put this here. We can just collapse this to see if we're on the same level or not. So truck, let's put a question mark there, so that we know that we need to actually we need to look at that if we want to have a truck in the demo. Right. I also want, without spoiling the mission all that much, there's one more vehicle that the player will need to actually use during the mission, which can be found here in this area. Then we need to use it to complete the mission. So what do we call that? It's called like a mover, something like that. It's not a question mark actually. I'm not gonna show you right now what it is. Maybe later. But yes, that needs to be handled. All right. What else? Well, we have this thing here. Let's go to monorail avatar. We can teleport to this guy inside of the monorail. We've seen before that this gate doesn't actually have any physics, so we need the monorail to have like a proper sequence of closing that. So monorail, and before I forget, it should probably have sounds as well, right? Sounds, and it needs to have a gate with physics, blocker, open and close logic, things like that. Then activation zone. Which reminds me that we need the activation zones as a system. So the way I imagine this working, and we're gonna have to see if the design is good, but the way I plan to actually do this is that when you arrive at something that can be controlled by the player, there will be sort of an area marked somehow on the ground, and when the player enters it, they can control, they can activate something, something such as this monorail. They can, for example, like if it's on the other side, they can drive here, and they can activate the monorail, and it will sort of drive here. And that's the way that you can control these things. So we need an activation zone system for that. There will probably be some other things as well. Okay. What else? For the actual level, the lift station. This will need a what do we call the area? I haven't really mentioned this in the videos, but you're getting a slight glimpse into what will actually be contained in the area there. But let's call it power station for now. Something like that. And yes, from the vehicles, we're still missing the system where we can actually drive close to another vehicle and switch to that vehicle. So the idea is here that if you drive, for example, up to one of these guys, well, we have two vehicles here now, so that makes it already more confusing. But if you drive up to, let's imagine the mother vehicle is not there. If I drive up to one of these other vehicles, and they're both, there's going to be some conditions on when you can do it. But if they're sort of both standing still and you have sort of access to the other vehicle, you should just be able to switch to it. And the mother vehicle with its crane arm will probably be sort of a special case, because the crane arm can reach into places where the vehicle is actually not very close to the target vehicle, but I think the player should still be able to switch to another vehicle, even though it's not close to the mother vehicle, if the crane is close to the vehicle you want to switch to. So vehicle switching. Let's call these normal. Actually, let's call this normal switching. So that's just switching from one vehicle to the other. Then we have the crane arm switching, which is like doing something like this, where like the vehicle is a little too far away to do anything, but then they can sort of extend the arm like this. Let's see if this can actually reach that vehicle. I think it almost should. We can lower the cable. Yeah, that should probably count. We should be able to switch to this guy now. All right. So that needs to be done. What else? What else? We will need the characters. Just pause the game. We need the characters. I'm going to put this in the mission. Well, let's put this in narrative. So we need the characters. We need the characters for the mission as well. What else? Yeah, I'm not sure. On the sound side, we will probably want some music. Let's create a new section here for sound. Sound. Oh, actually, it's called audio. Music. Vehicle. Sound effects. So engines. Tire sounds. Hit sounds. So basically collisions. I know I have some of these things sort of as dupes, as duplicates. For example, engine sound is here on the scout vehicle. It's not a problem in my book. It's better to have these in too many places, at least at this stage. And then we can, when you get them done, you can just mark them as done in both places, if we keep this structure. Environment sounds, probably something like wind. UI sounds, so button clicks, things like that. Probably some other sounds as well. I'm just typing these up as I come up with them. We have particles. So vehicle trail particles. Like that, and then probably like refinery smoke stacks. We have these quite large smokestacks here. I think it would be kind of silly if we didn't have some kind of particles from any of these. Yeah. All right, we're driving in a very, very unfinished area, so we need to do a little bit of level design as well. So level. This is like environment. Better background cliffs. Let's not call that back, because background is something else actually. Better border cliffs, because these cliffs here, for example, these sort of like the border. At the border of the level, we have these guys. Then we have background mountains probably, or something like that. Clouds slash other stuff in the sky, most likely. Then we have trees, rocks, and that kind of thing. It's very sort of it's very empty here. Then we need the this area needs to be like modeled. So I just call this like area on the left side of the road. So it's obviously it's the left side when you actually enter from there. This whole area is kind of unfinished. Maybe I'll come up with something interesting to put here. Right. What else? The main point here is that we have all of these things still to do. There's quite a big list of things here, and some of them are really small, like disable the multiplayer button, and some of them are really quite big, quite large, like the vehicle switching or the particles or the activation zone system, things like that, or indeed the scripting of the final mission. So some of these might be like literally like 10 seconds of work, and others might be like 2 weeks of work. But I'm not super worried about having items of varying sizes at this point. I just feel like it's better to have the items rather than not have them at all. So when we go here, we need something to block the player from actually going in this direction. Let's pause the game. And that's probably. Oh, we had a level thing here already. Yeah, let's move this down to that level. We can delete that. And so we have like the thing that I call the desert player blocker, probably. More details probably as well. All right, we don't have that many details yet here in this area, and there should be a little more, but you should also be blocked from just driving out onto the desert, because it is literally into. There's no physics when you go far enough. So that's that. Oh, we will definitely need some, or want, shall we say, some dynamic objects. Dynamic objects scattered throughout the level. Like, it's kind of silly that I don't have more dynamic object boxes and planks and I don't know, sheets of metal and things like lying around more, considering this is a very physics-driven game. But I've just been concentrating so much on this environment that I haven't really thought of that. But that's something that we definitely want. Some of those will perhaps be somehow related to the gameplay, but also just like for funsies. It's fun to drive into things and have things just like fly. Basically fly. Right. What are we still missing? Probably lots, but is there something obvious that's still missing? So if we pause the game, we can see that the pause menu is quite horrible. So did we have a main menu overhaul? We also need a pause menu overhaul. Mission failed screen. I'm gonna put a question mark there because I'm not exactly sure if you're supposed to be able to sort of hard fail the mission. I guess you can sort of soft fail it if you get stuck somewhere. But there's not going to be any combat, at least in this demo. There's not going to be any combat, so you can't really sort of die by being blown up or something like that. So that's not a thing. But you can still probably fail the mission in other ways. Not sure. We'll see. And if that is the case, then we're going to need a screen for that. All right. What then? Maybe open the main gate, and we can drive into the base and see what we have. Is there something obvious here? I still need to put in the power station. I think this is going to be the place for the power station. There's some groundwork here to be done. Maybe the actual lift. This is a giant lift that can lift things out of this area. I think we might have to actually make that work, at least somewhat. Main lift logic or something like that, right? Seems like something that we're going to need. Okay. Oh yeah, I had another area here that I was thinking. Let's just call this cargo area. Cargo area, for lack of a better name. Cool. Maybe we're starting to have like most of the things in place. I'm sure I'm gonna come up with more things as I go, and I don't need a very sort of carefully thought out formal list of things to do. I just need sort of a list of things to do so that I don't run out of a direction of where to put my time and effort. Instead, always have a list of things that I can work on so that I know that I'm going in the right direction. Or indeed, if the design proves to be not that fun or well working, then I know that I need to revise my list. All right. Cool. I think that's all for today, actually. I have a pretty significant list of things here to do. Some of these are pretty vague. Intro cinematic, like what is that going to mean? I don't know exactly yet. Some of them are very clear, actually. But yes, lots of things to do. Lots of things to do, and only so many hours in the day. I better end this here and start working on these things. If you like the video, let me know. If you dislike the video, let me know as well. If you have any thoughts or comments or suggestions or feedback or, I don't know, anything, write them below. It's always fun to read your thoughts on what I put out. And I hope to see you in the next one.